Picture this. You're sitting on the toilet, minding your own business, maybe scrolling through your phone, when suddenly a wet nose nudges the door open. Your dog walks in and just stares at you like their entire life depends on you finishing this particular mission safely. Most of us just find it awkward or a bit of a boundary issue, but in your dog's head, you're actually following one of the most critical rules of their world without even realizing it. We usually think we're the ones doing the teaching. We do the whole sit, stay, and roll over routine. But while we're busy trying to force our human etiquette on them, dogs have already written an entire invisible rulebook for us. It's a set of unspoken laws baked right into their DNA that goes way beyond just wagging a tail. When you actually start to get these rules, you stop seeing your dog as just a pet and start seeing them as a highly specialized biological partner who probably reads you better than you read yourself. The first rule in this invisible contract is pretty simple. I've got your back, so I expect you to have mine. That intense staring while you're busy in the bathroom that makes us so uncomfortable, that's pure security detail. In the wild, an animal is at its most vulnerable in that moment. Predators wait for those exact seconds to strike. Your dog isn't watching you out of curiosity, they're scanning the perimeter for threats while you're distracted. And when they're out in the yard doing their business and they lock eyes with you, they're asking for the exact same favor. They're basically saying, hey, I'm defenseless right now, don't let anything sneak up on me. When we look away or turn our backs in that moment, it can actually make some dogs feel really insecure. It's an evolutionary echo of their wolf ancestors, where the survival of the pack depended on everyone watching out for each other's weak spots. From a psychological perspective, this is what we call sentinel behavior. It's not just about physical safety, it's about a deep-seated cognitive need for social referencing. Your dog is constantly looking to you to gauge the safety of the environment, and when you mirror their vigilance, you're providing the psychological safety they need to function. The second rule covers the sanctity of sleep. Have you ever noticed how your dog might growl or jump if you wake them up suddenly while they're twitching their paws in a dream? Dogs follow what's called a polyphasic sleep pattern. They sleep a lot, but it's mostly light. In nature, falling into a deep sleep is dangerous. When they finally drop into that crucial REM phase where they process their day and let their immune system recharge, their brain is hardwired to flip into defense mode if they're touched unexpectedly. It's called the sleep startle reflex. Your dog expects you to respect their sleeping spot as a kind of neutral zone. For them, it's a matter of trust. In their world, crowding someone while they're in that defenseless state is a massive breach of pack etiquette. They're not trying to be rude, they're just reacting to a biological program that's older than human history itself. Rule number 3 is all about the protocol of smells. To us, a walk is just exercise and fresh air. To your dog, it's scrolling through social media, reading the morning news, and catching up on the latest local gossip all at once. When we constantly pull them away while they're sniffing a seemingly random blade of grass, it's like someone snatching your phone out of your hand right in the middle of a sentence. Dogs have up to 300 million scent receptors, while we're stuck with a measly 5 million. The part of their brain dedicated to analyzing smells is 40 times larger than ours. A dog doesn't just smell that another dog was there. They smell how old that dog is, what they ate, whether they're stressed, or even if they're sick. The unspoken rule is, let me understand my world through my nose. When we deny them that flow of information, we're taking away their ability to feel safe in their environment. A dog that isn't allowed to sniff is like a human being blindfolded and told to enjoy the view. The fourth rule is a big one, and it's one of those quiet gestures that's easily misunderstood. The lean. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You're standing in the kitchen waiting for the coffee to brew or chatting with a neighbor on the sidewalk, and suddenly you feel 10, 50, or 80 pounds of furry dead weight pressing firmly against your shins. It isn't an accident, and despite how it looks, your dog isn't just being lazy or looking for a place to park their butt. In the canine world, this is a massive vote of confidence and a profound sign of belonging. Think of it as the ultimate trust fall. From a psychological perspective, we call this proximity seeking, a core component of attachment theory. By leaning into you, your dog is essentially plugging into a biological charging station. It's far deeper than a simple human hug. It's an intricate biofeedback loop. When that physical connection is made, something incredible happens under the surface. Your dog's heart rate actually begins to synchronize with yours. This physical grounding triggers a surge of oxytocin, the same cuddle hormone that bonds mothers and infants, in both of your systems simultaneously. It's a form of chemical communication that says, "You are my safe harbor." But here's the rule part. Your dog expects you to acknowledge this silent check-in. In their mind, they aren't just taking up your space, they are actively sharing their presence with you to ensure the bond is still solid. When we absent-mindedly push them away because it's inconvenient or we're worried about fur on our trousers, it can actually create a tiny flicker of social anxiety for them. They aren't trying to be clingy, they're reaffirming that the two of you are a single, cohesive unit. In a world that is often loud and chaotic for a dog, your leg is the one constant, unmoving anchor they can rely on. So next time you feel that pressure, realize it's not a nuisance. It's a heartbeat-to-heartbeat confirmation that you are their entire world. The fifth rule is arguably the most important for our day-to-day lives, the law of absolute consistency. Dogs are the greatest pattern recognizers on the planet. They don't understand the concept of an exception. If your dog is allowed on the couch today because you had a bad day, but gets in trouble for it tomorrow because you have company over, their world starts to crumble a little. To a dog, a rule should be like a law of physics. Imagine if gravity only worked every other Tuesday. It would drive you crazy. This leads to a fascinating psychological phenomenon. When rules are inconsistent, dogs can fall into a state of learned helplessness. They stop trying to figure out what you want because the game seems rigged or unpredictable, which spikes their cortisol levels and leads to chronic anxiety. They expect you to be a predictable leader. In the wild, unpredictability is life-threatening. A leader who constantly changes their mind loses credibility. Your dog doesn't love structure because they're a control freak. They love it because it gives them the peace of mind that the world will work the same way tomorrow as it does today. But we need to talk about something that often gets missed. Have you ever watched how your dog looks at you when you come home after a long day? They aren't just staring, they're scanning your micro-expressions. They know you're in a bad mood before you've even taken off your shoes. They know your routines better than you do. They know the jingle of your car keys means something totally different than the rattle of the leash. This deep connection brings us to a point that most owners overlook. There is a moment when the communication between you and your dog suddenly goes quiet, and it's the most important warning signal you will ever learn. If your dog suddenly stops following these unspoken rules, you need to pay attention. If the dog that used to follow you like a shadow into the bathroom suddenly stays in another room. If the dog that always leaned into you starts seeking distance. If their interest in the daily sniffing newspaper just vanishes. It's usually not a sign of them just getting older or suddenly being well-behaved. It's a biological retreat. In the animal kingdom, there is a deep-seated instinct to hide pain and weakness so they don't jeopardize the pack or attract predators. A dog that stops following their social rules is often screaming for help without making a single sound. It's the silence that should be talking to you the loudest. We spend so much of our lives trying to teach our dogs our language that we often forget to become fluent in theirs. They are experts at reading us, protecting us, and pulling us into their ancient, loyal world. The next time you feel that wet nose at the bathroom door, just smile, because in that moment, you're being made the most important part of a promise that's thousands of years old. Sometimes the biggest conversation you'll ever have with your dog is the one where nobody says a word.